Oh, may we bow our heads. Father God, I'm kind of out of breath. As this city council meets tonight, I pray along with others that every council person will be able to understand the times we are living in. I pray they will understand and know the priorities of leadership that is needed at this time in our city. Father, I thank you that every member is reminded by you that our country and this city and the council was established in righteousness. In God we trust. Father, I pray that every resolution and ordinance that is spoken about tonight should be sound in its presentation before this council. Father God, I pray that the mayor and all the city council members will always keep their hearts and minds in the will of God for all the people of this city. And Father, I thank you for all those who will be sworn in tonight, that each young man, Father God, will do his duty and be protected by the blood of Jesus as he goes about protecting this city. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Evelyn. Now we'll officially call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Mayor Miller.
Here.
Alderperson Clem will be marked absent for the moment. Monroe.
Here.
Simmons. Here. Parker.
Here.
Stacy.
Here.
Shadle.
Here.
Sanders is absent, and Sellers.
Here.
And then if it pleases the council, is there a motion to allow Alderman Clem in by remote?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman Parker, seconded by Alderman Sellers. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Monroe.
Here.
Simmons.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Stacy.
Aye.
Shadle.
Aye.
Sanders. Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. Sellers.
Here.
Alderperson Clem will be marked present at 6:04 p.m.
Thank you. And if you could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Alderman Monroe. Alderman Monroe, the meeting is yours.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Item number 4, this is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Shadle, seconded by Alderman Sellers, excuse me. All of those in favor, say aye.
You have to do a vote.
Oh,
All
we have to
things
do a
are by
roll
vote.
call?
Monroe, what say you?
Aye.
Simmons. Parker.
Aye.
Stacy.
Aye.
Shadle.
Aye.
Sellers.
Aye.
And Clem.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Item number 5 is the approval of the minutes from the Committee of the Whole meeting held on July 8th, 2024. Same thing, roll call?
So moved.
Oh, I do have a motion, I apologize. Motion by Alderman Parker, seconded by Alderman Shadle. And roll call vote, please, Madam Clerk.
Monroe.
Aye.
Simmons.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Stacy.
Aye.
Shadle.
Aye.
Sellers.
Aye.
And Clem.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Item number 6 are public comments, agenda items limited to 3 minutes per person. We have nobody signed up for agenda items, so we will move on to item number 7, swearing in of police officers presented by Mayor Miller and Chief Schimberger.
You guys can just all. Turn this around. There we go. All right, we're going to let you start. Hi. Don't you want me to say it first?
Thanks, Chief. Good evening, everybody. Looks like we have a full house, which is wonderful. We have an exciting night for the city of Freeport tonight because we get to welcome a number of individuals into our Freeport Police Department family. And I say family because it is a tight-knit unit. They are elite, they are professional, and they have the trust of every citizen in our city. When we're going through and selecting each of you, as you know, you had the pleasure to go through the process and the interviews. The thing that's on the forefront of all of our minds is, are these the kind of people that we can trust to show up in our time of need? Are these the kind of people that are willing to assist their fellow officers? And the fact that all of you are standing here tonight is because it was unanimous yes. So you should feel very proud of your accomplishments, because we're very proud to have you join our city. So I'm Mark Gridley. I am the chairman of the Freeport Police and Fire Commission, and I'm joined by several other commissioners here in the background as well. We do have another commissioner. We are a civilian group representing the city. Then we work very closely with the city, as well as our esteemed firefighters and also our police officers. So without any ado, I'm going to read your official commission. So the commission is the same for each of you. So I'm just going to not say the name, but understand. Diego, I actually have yours, but I won't be reading the name specifically, but the commission will apply to all of you. So, official commission, City of Freeport Board of Fire and Police Commission. To all to whom these presents shall come. Having been duly appointed to the office of patrolman and in the City of Freeport in the County of Stevenson and State of Illinois, for the term from the 12th day of August 2024 until their successor shall have been duly appointed and qualified, is hereby fully authorized and empowered to assume and perform all the duties of their said office, according to the law and ordinance of said city, and all persons are required to respect them in the discharge of their duties or said duties. By the order of the Board of Fire and Police Commission, and then it has my signature, but again, that's representing the entire commission. So congratulations to each of you. We're going to present the commissions to each of you, and then there's some additional words and some swearing in that you'll take your official oath.
Just like to echo some of the things that Chairman Gridley said. Thanks for the huge crowd. This is really exciting for us. It's actually quite amazing. I think the last time we swore in any more than 3 people was more than 10 years ago. We swore in 6. And if you pay attention to what other departments across the state or even the nation are doing, similar size or even bigger, to find one that's swearing in 5 at one time is pretty unusual. So we're very fortunate. This is a culmination of a lot of hard work with our staff, recruiting efforts, and everything else. And no corners are cut. These are all fine individuals, and we're extremely proud that they chose to start their career with us. Just to introduce some of them, so we have 2 of them that got hired off of our last list, not the current cycle. The first one's Derek DeFries. He's this gentleman right here. Derek's from the area. He was somebody that we've been talking to for over a year now. We invited him to do some ride-alongs. He was going to Judson University where he played football, and we're just glad that he's here. He had 1 more year left of school last year, so he didn't want to quit school, and I understood that. But we're just glad that he stuck to us and then tested with us and is now getting hired tonight. Also on that list is Julian here. Julian applied on the last list too, and the only reason why these guys didn't get hired is because we only had so many slots in the academy. So Julian applied last January, went through the cycle, and got on the list. He's been really determined to become a police officer, and we're glad that he came here to test with us and apply with us. Next we have Brooke. We're super glad to have Brooke too. She's from Freeport, so she's from the area. When I saw the application, I'm like, I really don't know this person, because it's weird because it seems like I know most of the applicants, but she's a certified EMT. Stay away from her. And just really impressed with her and her organization and everything that she brings to the table. Next we have Diego. And Diego came to the police department to do his internship from Western Illinois University this summer. and everyone at the police department really enjoyed being around him. He also has a tie to the police department, which we're glad that that person, suggested that maybe he should work here. So we're glad to have Diego too. And then finally, Jace here. He was another surprise, and I know Jace. I saw the application. I had to text his dad, who worked for us for many years, to tell him how glad I was that Jace applied. All these individuals did just a fantastic job throughout the testing process, and we're glad that Jace is on board as well. It was a little difficult time for us because Derek and Julian were on the pass list, and we knew that they were going to get hired. We had them locked in at Sauk Valley Community College Police Academy in Dixon. So we had 2 other slots, and somehow they gave them up. And we've done the same process with them ever since their academy started. So thanks to my administrative assistant, Lisa, we were in a mad scramble to find, because we wanted to send at least 4. But luckily, we were able to get 3 slots down at the Southwestern Illinois College Police Academy, which is in Belleville. So be praying for these guys, because they're going to be driving 4.5 hours just to get down there and then to come back every weekend. But so it's a little messed up. So Derek would be the first one sworn in tonight, and Julian would be second because they have the most seniority. But since they're locked in at Sauk, they don't start the academy for 3 more weeks, or the other 3 who are behind them start 2 weeks earlier. So we're still trying to sort it out, but as long as they come back certified, we're good. So that's all I have.
All right, who wants to be the one heard? All right, so what I'll do is, I'll just ask you to state your name, and I'll say your names and then repeat after me. So if you will raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Julian Benedict,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the Office of Patrol Officer
Office of Patrol Officer
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
All right, you guys want to say anything?
Oh. If I didn't give you guys, I know I gave Derek one. Yep, we're good.
Well, congratulations. We're proud to have you be a part of the team. So if we'll just kind of all turn and we'll let them take a picture. And I don't know if you have maybe someone that you wanted to stand up here with us. That's your call.
We might just take pictures
Outside?
outside.
Okay, we have one more. Officer McAmill, could you come forward?
Can't hear him.
So this is an unusual one for us. It was something that the city clerk saw. We thought it would be a great idea to swear in our K-9. We had to go away from K-9 program for a few years just from staffing and stuff like that. So last fall, we were really fortunate to get back into the K-9 game. This K-9, they're not cheap. The dog and the training, everything was completely funded by donations from the community, and we're super happy about that and very thankful that we had that support. DJ went to class with Officer McAmeal in the wintertime last year, February or so? So he's been on the street since about, April? March. And he's just been a really good asset to me, or for us, for the department. And Lieutenant Weichel and Officer McAmeal, they went to go pick out DJ, and they brought him back. And I was pretty excited. I like to, whenever we have canines, I like to be on their good side, obviously. So when they were walking with him, he was skinny and smelled, and his hair was all nasty, and I'm like, what did you guys buy? But he's a very smart dog, and he's turned out very well. Actually, when Rich brought him back from training, I expected him to be, 100%, and just to see how much he's grown because of the way Rich has been working with him since they've been back, it's pretty amazing. So.
All right, so first for me, getting to swear in a K-9 or give them their commission. So DJ, this is your official commission from the City of Freeport Police Department. To all to whom these presents shall come, having duly be appointed to the office of patrolman in and for the City of Freeport in the County of Stevenson and State of Illinois for the term from the 12th of August 2024 until his successor shall have been duly appointed and qualified, is hereby fully authorized and empowered to assume and perform all duties of his said office according to the law and ordinance of said city, and all persons are required to respect him in the discharge of his said duties by the order of the Chief of Police, Freeport, Illinois.
He'll shake his paw.
Well, I'm not really sure how he's going to raise his right paw. So I guess I'm going to read this and we'll go from there. So, DJ, do you solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and faithfully discharge the duties of the office of K-9 officer according to the best of your ability? I take it as a yes.
Yes. There he goes. Best part of the whole night.
Sergeant Leverton and Detective Holden. So we're going to keep rolling tonight. We're going to present these two officers right here with a merit award for the young officers who are starting their careers here. If there's two people you want to emulate and be like someday, it's these two gentlemen right here. They do an amazing job for us. What I'm about to read is a case that they worked together. It also involved, the shift members and everything else, but they did a lot of work on it. It kind of seems like a day in the life of a Freeport police officer because we deal with so much stuff and we always ask these guys to do more with less. But this was a case where we felt like they did more than what the average person would, and they did a really good job with it. So I, Chief Schenberger, was made aware of an incident that was reported to the police department and was investigated by Sergeant Joshua Leverton and Detective Justin Holden, wherein Sergeant Leverton and Detective Holden went beyond the requirements of their normal duty for the good of the community. Upon review of the incident, I learned the following. On July 3rd, 2024, at 8:22 p.m., officers of the Freeport Police Department received a report of a suspicious vehicle that was driving around with 3 to 5 occupants who were wearing masks covering their identity. At the time of the initial incident was reported, only a basic description was given of the vehicle. Sergeant Leverton was able to utilize technological resources to develop a suspect vehicle and registration. Approximately 30 minutes after the report, Detective Holden located the suspect vehicle on Prospect Terrace with 5 occupants ranging in age from 17 to 22 years old. Detective Holden and Sergeant Leverton conducted a search of the vehicle and located 2 loaded semi-automatic pistols. Detective Holden conducted additional follow-up on this incident, which involved the execution of a search warrant on one of the occupants' phones. During a search of the phone, Detective Holden discovered a video that showed 2 of the occupants handling the 2 seized firearms before the vehicle was located on Prospect Terrace. The investigative actions taken in this incident led to felony charges being approved for the 2 17-year-old occupants who were on video possessing the seized pistols. After reviewing the facts of this incident, I feel the actions taken by Sergeant Leverton and Detective Holden deem them both worthy of receiving the Merit Award, as they took significant action to locate the suspect vehicle and the suspects in the incident. By finding the suspect vehicle and seizing firearms, they thwarted a potential shooting incident that could have occurred had the occupants been able to be in possession of the illegally possessed firearms. So, congratulations.
Did you take your separate clip aside today, your second one? I think we did at the table. We didn't check the others yet. Those are in the box over there. Pretty good. Like they did in class.
And one more. This is a surprise for him. If anyone's heard us talk about gun violence and things that we are doing to try to combat that, at least when I'm talking, you've heard me mention his name many times. He's got, I don't know, he's just amazing at what he does. He really is. His dedication is second to none. He's working all the time, and it's just unreal. And, I mean, we have something that we want to celebrate for him and his career because of his dedication and how he does keep the streets of Freeport safe. Just not too long ago, he seized his 100th firearm off the street. I mean, that's something that's scary to me to know that this guy right here took 100 guns off the street, but yet at the same time, it's amazing to know that how good he is at it. And he's only been here for 6.5 years and really probably didn't find his niche until how long ago, maybe? About 4 years ago. So we're just so glad that he's with us, and we are extremely proud of his dedication, so we made a plaque for you for this.
That's the right one.
That brings us to item number 9, discussion regarding ordinance amending odd evening snow parking for all days from November 1st through April 1st, presented by Manager Boyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The City of Freeport declares snow emergencies to clear streets for snow removals. The street superintendent and plow crews are requesting the city consider a change of the odd-even parking rule that's similar to other communities in our area. The street superintendent, Pat, is requesting the change of the odd-even parking for the following reasons. Constituents will know where to park based on the calendar day not posting by the city under snow emergencies. Vehicle movement required would be from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. daily. Fewer notices will be sent out during the winter season, so more attention is given to larger winter snow events when issued. Cul-de-sacs will not change. No parking is allowed in them during snow events. All city parking lots will be odd even, as well as east-west sides. Signage would be installed. Quicker for our plow crews to clean streets and will be more effective getting snow pushed back. Odd even parking should reduce crew overtime, helping budgets while allowing more efficient snow removal, and safer for our staff and equipment with many tight streets in the city when everybody understands the odd even parking protocol. Less interference with vehicle traffic and weaving around parked cars, and reduced insurance claims. Some of the benefits. And then fire and police support the odd even parking change for Freeport. And this would include, would be from November 1st to April 1st each year. So with that, I'd like to open the floor for discussion.
Do we have a motion on the floor?
I have a motion to move it forward.
Okay. Discussion.
So, Superintendent Ingram's here if anybody has any questions, and we have a couple pictures that we'd like to show you in reference to this requested ordinance change. This is one of our subdivisions, and with people parked on the streets, both sides of the streets, it's very hard to get equipment down there. Kurt, can you switch to the next photos, please? Here's an example of one of our local side streets, just making it near impossible to get equipment down there without having accidents, hitting mirrors, things like that. We're getting quite a few claims. Superintendent Ingram, this is one of the requests that their department's made that would also supply some synergies to our plowing and probably reduce our overtime hours annually to get the streets clean, and we'd be able to get them cleaner.
Next. Didn't we pass a law last year? No, not a law, but an ordinance where we could tow quicker on instances like this?
That is correct. We changed the towing ordinance so that the vehicle, the owner of the vehicle, is responsible for the towing fees. But as far as odd even parking, what's being requested here is to basically make it from November to April so that we don't have to worry. There's like a 3-day situation with snow emergencies. So from the point in which we issue the snow emergency, we essentially have 3 days to get things cleared up, and that usually is not enough time to get all the plowbacks completed. So if people just stop observing the odd even protocol, then we're kind of in a very difficult spot trying to get everything plowed back. So, and like many communities out there, the staff is requesting that we consider going odd even parking straight from November 1st to April 1st. That'll clarify it for everyone moving forward, because a lot of folks, they're confused about when the snow emergency goes into effect or when it's over. This would be very clear, and it would help our crews out tremendously.
Alderman Parker.
Okay, if I read the ordinance in the memo right, it's after we get a half an inch of snow, right? It's not 24/7.
Yes.
Okay, so I brought this up a few years ago and it died, and I think it's a good idea. It will take a few years to get everybody to learn it,
Right.
but I think it's a great idea. Thank you.
James?
I think there's a misconception with the half inch of snow. Mr. Zito, if you can correct me on that one, it's
Right. So it's if there's a half inch of snow, then yes, you have to be, you have to move there. But between the months of November to that March 31st date, it's going to always be odd even, whether or not there's snow or not, because we don't know obviously when their snow is going to come. So, but just in those winter month periods, it's automatically odd even.
Oh, I'm glad you cleared that up, because the way I read the ordinance, that you had to have at least some snow. So the way you're telling it, if it's sunny and 55 degrees, it's still in effect.
During those winter months. But at the same time, if it's not during those winter months, let's say we're at October 15th and we got an early snow and there's half an inch of snow, then people need to move as well still.
Okay.
So.
Can't do it.
I think you all are saying two different things.
We actually are.
Yeah.
Because I agree, in the middle of the summer, you should not have to worry about odd and even. And during the months of the sun it's a beautiful day out and no snow, you can't expect the people to worry about odd and even. He's saying they have to do it. So we are saying two different things.
No, they're only the odd even if you're between November and March, then it's odd even at all times, whether or not there's snow or not. If you're outside of that window of winter months, then It's only if there happens to be snow on the ground that you have to move your car then.
Alderman Stacy.
Okay, so you're saying even if there's no snow during those months, it's odd and even? Okay, and Attorney Zito, you keep saying March. Is it March or is it April?
Well, the end of March.
City manager.
It's March 31st.
It's November 1
you
to
said
March 31st.
April 1st is, yeah.
That's fine. I know I heard April.
James?
Alderman Parker.
Well, I'm going to vote against it. I was in favor of it, but you got to have some snow. 90% of the people, if it's a beautiful day, they're not going to worry about odd and even days. And plus, the police don't have time to go out and rip them for it. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Can you, Mr. Ingram, Chris, Brad, I almost called you your brother's name. Can you kind of give a little more information? So the one picture shows a cul-de-sac, and it says no parking in the cul-de-sac during a snow emergency. Is that directly in the cul-de-sac, or is that leading up to it? We've got a couple of streets, I can think of several on the northwest side of town, where the cul-de-sac is longer, you know, just trying to get a definition of what the city's expecting.
My interpretation of it is, as soon as you turn onto the street that leads into the cul-de-sac, that's all part of the cul-de-sac, because it's all the same street. There's no separation. And most of them in the wintertime, or even during leaf season, especially during the winter, when the snow comes, the roads get narrower. So people don't stagger. We're just feeling our response time and our cleanup efforts could be a lot more efficient if we just eliminate the parking when there's snow in there, period. Because with the officers, they're so busy, and staffing levels too, it's hard to get them to respond during the snow emergencies with traffic accidents, so we find ourselves 4 or 5 days before we can get vehicles moved.
One of the things that maybe if you don't live on a cul-de-sac, you don't understand in Freeport, when we plow cul-de-sacs, we plow all the snow to the center of the cul-de-sac. And then we go back at later times and remove it and haul it away. So those cul-de-sacs become very narrow with large piles of snow, especially if we have events, 3-4 days in a week, something like that. We can get a lot of snow accumulation in the cul-de-sacs.
Yeah, my question was mainly referred to like a street like Alamo that's quite a bit longer. You get all the, if you turn off, there's another cul-de-sac that's much shorter, which makes sense. But the longer street, doesn't make as much sense. So, any other comments?
I have one.
Alderman Sellers.
I do understand the reasoning, because even like where I am it's a narrow street, and if you got 2 cars parked there and you plow out your driveway, here comes the city to plow, and you have cars that sit there, you're plowed all back in again, and you can't get out. And sometimes it's odd and even days, because it's been odd and even days for the longest. But some people leave their car there for weeks, and with all that snow. So I think that I think knowing from November to March, this is the season that we have to park that way, versus you just wait until it's a snow. Because you wait until it's a snow, they come outside, they don't care. They're not gonna move if it's even or odd where I'm at, because we have to plow our driveway out 2 and 3 times, because here comes the plow. They never move their car, and you have that situation again. So I understand, you don't want to have to do that every day, but I don't.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You have the floor.
So Manager Boyer, how do you plan on making sure that everyone is aware of this change? Because to me, even sitting here hearing y'all explain it is confusing. Because some months it'll be only if it's a half an inch of snow. But through these few months, then it's every other, even an odd days. So how do you make sure that everybody knows that? Because it's the same with the half-inch even and odd. If people don't know or they don't respect it, it really doesn't matter what the ordinance is.
Sure.
So how do we plan to fix that?
Couple ideas. We could do our standard communication methods, so that'd be in the newsletter, that'd be on Facebook, that'd be on the city website. We'd make a point of saying that. Also, I think we'd be giving people a warning for the first time or two, especially on trouble areas, letting them know, hey, the ordinance has changed, and from now on, you have to move your car on odd, even days anytime you have, a snow event. Also making sure that we publish that in our press releases, that there's change to the ordinance, and when it gets publicized through communication channels, that is also transferred. But those are just some ideas, but those would be some ways to get it out. Also, we could do community watch meetings and discuss it that way. So,
Alderman Stacy.
Yes, I just want to say that I don't have cars blocking the street, and still my driveway get plowed back in. And I don't think under any way, shape, or form that that's fair. If I go out and shovel out my driveway, that the snow plow can come right back, turn his blade, and it fills back up my driveway. And it's no excuse of having to go around a car because there's not a car there. So what do people do about that happening?
I think the street superintendent had a remark.
One of the other reasons I picked November 1st is for leaf season, so we don't have to weave in and out of cars to try to pick up the leaves. Because we get a lot of complaints saying we miss leaves. Well, half the time people are parked on their leaves. So we feel we could speed up that process also. So that's another reason why I picked November 1st.
That didn't answer my question.
Alderwoman Stacy, there's no other place to put the snow except on the right of way. So when you go down the street, there's really no other place to go, and sometimes the snow does accumulate in your driveway. That's just part of snow plowing. There's no other place for it to go, and so that's where it does go. And when you shovel out your driveway, and I know it's annoying, I have to do the same thing, and so does everybody else in the city, but there's nothing else that can be done with it.
Any other comments?
You'll need a motion to move it forward.
Yes. Do we have a motion to move it forward?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Shadle, seconded by Alderperson Sellers.
And then if there's any further discussion, and otherwise then a vote to whether or not to put it on the next agenda.
Say that again.
So then, right, so you have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, then you guys would take a vote on whether or not to have this show up on the next council
Okay.
agenda.
Any other discussion points anybody like to mention?
I'd like to just ask one thing. If it would suit council, keeping the 3/4 inch snow or more, does that work okay for you, Don? You had mentioned that you had a concern about this being in operation all season long without snow.
Yes.
Did Pat's comment about the leaf season and change your mind at all about that?
That definitely is a good reason to do something about it, because I've seen a lot of leaves. They can't get around them, so, yeah. However you want to put it through.
Okay.
Could I ask a question? What will be how will they take care of it if the people have not moved? How is that going to be taken care of?
They should be told.
Well, outside of the communications process that I mentioned earlier, I think what we'll start out with is our officers will go out, and if they can find the person that owns the vehicle, they would get a warning. But maybe, Chief, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, the way that we'll handle it is the way that we normally do. You know, we don't just go out there and start writing tickets. The first thing we do is try to figure out whose vehicle it is, because the street department, they can't run license plates. So we will run registration. We try to make contact with the owners. You know, the tickets usually is pretty much the last resort. And I think the intent of the ordinance isn't like to give us blanket authority to write tickets. It's just to help with the street department and the snow removal.
Comment.
Alderman Parker.
One thing too is you see that when the troopers do it, is they get a car out on the street, they put a sticker on the window. It jumps out at you, so where officers don't have time to go up and look for them, get some stickers and put right on the window, so when they get in that car, they're gonna see it, and it explains a quick thing too. Make it a little easier. Just my opinion.
Yeah, what I've noticed on Greenfield and some of the other major thoroughways, nothing's happened. So I think it's important that we do something, you know, because we can't just leave them there. We end up with a situation where we get a big snowstorm, you know, and Pat will tell you this, and then 3 days later you get another one, and that car's still frozen in that spot. So, and all it does is make for, you know, a road hazard as we move forward. So, you know, I wouldn't even be against if it's sticking snow, then we put this into effect. If it's not, that way we're not measuring it and doing all of those types of things. Just a common sense kind of approach makes a lot more sense. I don't agree with his statement about the whole road that is a cul-de-sac, because I think that some of these roads that are cul-de-sacs are quite long. So that picture there, I believe that's at the end of out southwest of town. It's a good example. Most of the cul-de-sacs are a problem, and if you park in the middle of the road like that, it makes it almost impossible to plow. So, you know, those are the types of things that we want to try to avoid, because it's very easy to hit a vehicle or a mailbox or whatever else with that plow. So, safety is what's paramount.
Well, James, one of the reasons we're asking for this now in August is so we have plenty of time to get communications out before this would happen, with the water newsletters, using Brian Bridge with the Confic along with our Facebook page, and other people are picking up that traffic, so that gives us a few months in advance of this to start, you know, notifying people of the change. And then once it gets out there, we have such a high rental population that it's the date on the calendar they can count on, rather than the news blast that we're sending out that there's a snow emergency that a lot of people don't pay attention to. So, thank you.
Yes. Attorney Zito.
Manager Boyer, could you, just so that I just want to know what, because right now we have a motion and a second to move the ordinance as presented onto the next council meeting. Were you suggesting making some tweaks to this ordinance or no?
I believe we're moving forward as it's currently written, right, with the three-quarter inch.
Right, thank you.
That's my understanding as well.
The only issue is the LEAF program. So we'll have to do something with our communications during LEAF program.
You park on your leaves, you'll have to deal with the fire department. So, I'll let City Clerk Debbie Anderson take the vote, please.
Monroe,
Aye.
Simmons, Parker,
Aye.
Stacy,
Aye.
Shadle,
Aye.
Sellers, and Clem. The motion passes 7-0.
Item number 10, discussion regarding plan for airport farm leases, presented by Darren Steekel.
Yeah, thank you. We promised a couple months ago to start investing more time in the airport and figuring some of the problems out there. I dropped a large map on everybody's table here. It looks like this. It's also going to be up high, but I know it would be hard to see. So just some quick bullet points. Currently, we have 35 parcels at the city airport. Totals about 429 acres. Only 123 of those acres are actually farmable. Those lands currently have corn and soybeans occupying the fields. I believe from the research I could do, we have 9 land leases right now. Most of them are expired and have been expired for some while. Out of the current 9 leasees, we only have 3 that regularly pay based on our research. We admit that this is a problem and has been a reoccurring problem for the city for many years. City staff met and vetted some ideas on how to move this forward to a permanent resolution. And the idea that we came up with that we like the best, that we would like council to review and approve, is to move forward. If you're looking at your map, we would like to go to a bid situation for the red, the blue, and the purple areas. So we would cut down the leasing areas to only 3 areas total. That would give a fairly equal proportionate of acres to farm. Getting down to 3 renters instead of 9 will be less work for the city to manage and take care of. We would also, to make this fair, notify the current lessees by a stakeholders meeting that we would terminate their leases. In order to do this legally, we have to notify them by October 1st, and that's why we're bringing this up now. Again, we recommend that we put a bid out for public bid of 3 parcels, 3 separate parcels, the red, the blue, and the purple, or they could bid on all at once. We were also recommending that we would put a minimum price per acre on. We haven't determined that yet. We've been throwing around some number between $150 and $200 an acre. You have to remember these parcels are puzzle pieced, and they're very hard to access. So we tried to make them contiguous so they'd be easier to farm for only 3 people. Randy Kohlbauer, who's here, she helped with this quite a bit. She has some background in agricultural. We think this is a more fair opportunity to the farmers, also a more fair opportunity for the city to have less to manage. And then we would put these out to bid for a 3-year contract per area, and then we would renew it every 3 years. That seems to be the standard in the area for leasing property. And we'd also, we had a comment today that I thought was pretty on point, that we would have to put some language in here about taking care of the property and maintaining it and making sure they're not farming all the nutrients out of the ground and so on and so forth. So at this point, Randy's also here and can help answer some questions. She did quite a bit of the heavy lifting on this. But we see this as the way to move these forward. We think we would have enough interest, and it would also, we've done some math, and honestly, between what we're renting now and what we could potentially rent, there's about $10,000 to $15,000 difference per year in what we're capturing right now. With that, we'll take some questions.
Alderperson Stacy, please.
Can you tell me on the map, the 3 faithful ones, where are they located?
Randy will be able to answer that.
Yeah, pointer.
Yeah. Oh, you need a pointer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My arms aren't long enough. Okay. So the people that have been paying regularly are located this large field here, and then this pretty much in the red. So those are our 3 producers that currently pay regularly.
All the red?
All the red, yes.
Okay, follow up. So, really the only area we are looking at is this purple at the top to the right. So, the ones that's already the faithful 3, will they be allowed to keep their area?
If they're the high bid, yes. but they could also take all of it if they wish to.
But they have paid faithfully when 6 have not. So what if one of the 6 come and all of a sudden they get the high bid? Do you think it's fair just them to lose the property that they have had and have been paying on?
I don't know if it's necessarily fair, but I don't know a different way to put this out to bid and make it fair to all parties. And there's also the possibility that somebody would come in that is none of these people, or are none of these people, and bid on the whole works as well at a higher dollar value to the city. So I agree with you. While it's probably not fair, we have to make it fair for all if we make some changes.
Here.
Okay. Darren, I'm sorry, Director Darren. We haven't worried about money coming in for how many years? And what are we going to do about the ones that's on the property that haven't paid for 7, 8 years? What do we do about that? They got to play catch up?
I'm sorry to tell you, but based on the catch-up rates, since there's not an active lease with them, we are not going to be able to do anything about the crops or the rent money that is in the rears because there's no active leases on those property. They've expired and they weren't renewed. And again, if we don't if we don't notify them that we're making changes by October 1st, due to the Illinois state law, there's not a lot we can do with them without an active lease. If we had an active lease and they weren't paying, we just currently don't have one with them. When these leases were set up, it's my understanding that these areas were basically bought from these farms as part of the land airport expansion, and then those people just kept farming those areas. And it is very puzzle-pieced. The problem is, in my estimation, I haven't been part of it. I don't think anybody in this room has been part of it, but we've been tasked with trying to find a way to clean it up. And again, I don't know a more fair way than to put it out to bid where, maybe it's somebody not in the picture would love to rent all this. We have to figure a way to reduce the cost for the city to manage it, yet get that revenue in the door. And we're open to other suggestions if somebody's got a better idea than what we came up with.
Do we have the old leases that's expired?
We have some. I don't believe we have all of them.
I want to make a motion. I would like to make a motion that this is put on hold till the council is given a copy of those leases that we asked for over a month ago. You asked for 6 months, and now here it is a month, and you have this grand ideal. Not shooting down your ideal, but I would like to know, what were they paying an acre before? How much were they paying, and so forth. And I do not feel that the faithful 3 that have paid all this time is subject to losing what they've had. So I would like to put that motion out there, that everything be put on hold until we can see those farmers' leases and figure this thing out together as a council.
Oh, city manager?
Yeah. I believe it's perfectly fine to request those leases for the next meeting. I mean, this can be brought back up the next meeting. Our job is just trying to move this forward in the most equitable way possible. So with that being said, we can provide that at the next meeting. This is just open for discussion, so.
No, the only real deadline we have here is at that October 1st date. We have to notify the renters of a change by October 1st, or we can't unrent to them next year.
Right, so that, if you continue to have the thought of pushing it out, it'll pushed out for a whole year, just so you know.
So I'm going to ask a question. I'm not an attorney. If there's no active lease, then who's renting it?
So the way the law works usually, the way the law works usually is whoever has it, even though the lease expires, continues to have access to that ground until given written notice of termination.
And since we don't have an active lease, we can't go put a lien on the crop that's on it, because that's usually what people with leases do. You can't put something on the farm, or you put it on the crop, right?
Are all these crops being farmed on now?
I believe all of them are, other than one piece that might be a little swampy. There's crops on them.
So, this was a big failure on their part and the city. Who can just stop paying for land but still do your crops on it and expect to have everything for free? And why would we even allow that to happen?
Agree totally, Alderwoman Stacy,
I
but
still make a motion.
Randy had a comment on that.
Yes, Randy.
If I can just give some background. So some of the leases that were expired are actually from producers that are now deceased. Landowners have changed. Some of it's been sold off, that kind of stuff. So some of these people may or may not have known. Some of them may have known and just decided, no thanks. As far as that part goes, I don't know what their decision process was. But yeah, some of them have changed. And as far as previous rents, from what I've seen, it's been $80 to $110 were the previous leases.
How can they sell off something that's not theirs?
The ground around it was sold. And then because a lot of these were parts of those farms originally, they just continued to farm them. Does that make sense?
So yes, Alderman Shadle.
My math on this purple section comes up to 13.59 acres. At $150 an acre, that's $2,000. Let's move on.
Attorney Zito.
Well, I was just going to say that I just wanted to clarify the motion. There is, Alderman, are you looking to just continue this to the next COW meeting to get that additional information?
Were we looking for this to go to council?
Mm-hmm.
Then
We have to.
My motion would be to.
It has to go to council.
Well,
We have to deal with the first motion.
Yeah. So I just wanted to clarify Alderperson Stacy's motion. Are you looking to continue this to a date specific, like a meeting specific? Is the next COW? Okay, thank you. So,
And that's September.
yep.
And
Manager.
Ideally, let's get the information that Alderwoman Stacy has asked for. Let's bring it back up at the first meeting in September, and maybe we can take some action at that time.
Is that okay? Instead of going to the cow, go to the first regular meeting
In September.
in September.
I'm out of turn.
That's for you.
Can I just add one thing? Alderman Stacy, it's not unfair to those three that are paying. It's just normal business. If whoever wants to rent something pays, they can put in whatever bid they want to. It's not unfair to them. It's business.
But what if they want to keep their
Put a bid in.
spot?
Then they put a bid in.
So that brought up a question that I had that I've forgotten about. So those that are renting those areas, 1, 2 through 7, are the people that are renting those, do they have land that's directly
Adjacent,
adjacent?
yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it would be likely that they're going to bid on the land that's adjacent to them, but it would be a competitive bid rather than, low per acre that we're receiving now. I believe Randy did the math, and right now, on an average, we're getting $210 an acre for what is rented.
Sounds about right.
Right, which is about, I believe, annually a little less than $9,000. So in the real scheme of what we're talking about here, it is, we're not going to capture a lot of extra money, but if we want to get everybody paying the rent or the lease on there, we have to make it fair to all parties. We can't just lease out area purple and not the other ones. We have to make it fair to everybody and treat them all equally. If one of those farmers would want all of it, then they can come after it.
And I would just want to clarify one point you made earlier. So we've approached the people that already in the purple area who had the expired leases.
We have not.
We have not. So we haven't talked to them about leasing it or anything. We,
No one? You haven't spoken with no one?
No, because they're not paying their lease now, and Randy's familiar with the area and is very confident that they're not going to pay. And since we have an expired lease, there's nothing we can do to force them to pay. So again, we have to treat everyone equal on this site with the farm ground that we're leasing.
So, follow-up question on that. So if that's something that they don't want to pay to lease, potentially we could end up having to take care of that land because nobody will be farming it. We'd have to mow it.
It's the risk. Yes, it would be.
Yes.
So I agree with Alderperson Stacy. So what if, like, once you figured out what you want to get per acre, you take that to those people who have been paying and see if they're willing before you put it up to bid, and then the ones that aren't paying, you inform them that, no, our lease is over with, and put theirs up to bid? Can we make that an option? Then it's still fair. Everybody gets a chance to bid on some land.
Technically, when the city bids things, we can't prioritize one person over another. So we have to make it fair to all parties. So if we put something out to bid, anybody has to have the right to bid on it.
I mean, before you even put it up to bid, like if they don't want to pay what you're requesting, then you put it up to bid, and then whoever is can get it. Is that an option? That'll make Alderperson Stacy happy, probably the people who are renting and paying happy. You'll get what you want.
I think that's a question for Attorney Zito, whether the city can legally do that.
I'd have to take a look at the statute. I don't know that answer off the top of my head to see for a lease if we have to go out and do it in a uniform manner, or if we can take a pre-step first, as you suggested. That's something that I can look into and find an answer out, which will then, if you guys decide to move this, postpone this, that'll give me time to look into that question for you as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Manager Boyer, you're saying you're willing to just move it to 1st of September, the first meeting in September versus this next meeting as a compromise?
Yes.
Okay.
That would give us some time to get all of our ducks in a row.
So we will be voting on it being on that first meeting in September, not the next meeting.
That's correct. Yeah. Just out of the time, as Darren Steekel mentioned, October 1st.
Only if those are, they have to be an ordinance, that's 2 readings.
First reading. The vote would be the second.
Wouldn't be until.
Okay, we'd have to suspend the rules then if we wanted to approve it that night.
Question. So currently, what are they paying per acre?
It was an average of $210 per acre through all of the property
Currently.
And
so you're saying it's going to stay?
Well, when you go out to bid, you can put a minimum reserve on it, so we could say that it's going to be X or more when we bid it. So we put a low value or a low end value on what the bid could be, but you always run the risk of nobody will bid on it then. I mean, $210 an acre is not anything for the land, but you have to remember the reason we did the map is to look at this. If you were a farmer, this is a pain to farm, right? It's not a big open space. It's not a big open field. These are small chunks. They're puzzle pieces. So unless it's adjoining property to that, it's going to be tougher to farm.
And you said that they are adjourned, so it's like, on one hand, you're saying this, and on another hand, you're saying that. It's all around adjourned property, correct? The ones that's paying own the property around it.
They either own it or they rent it.
So I'll ask another question. So we've got 3 people paying. So I'm assuming 1, and then is it 2, 3, 4, and then the other side? Or is it broken up differently than that?
I don't understand what you're saying there.
So my question is, we've got 3 people that have been paying.
All the red
Well,
and the blue.
yeah, but
I think Randy knows that answer.
So if you break it down by actual field and producer, field 1 is paid by one producer. Sorry, I need better glasses. Field 5 is paid by another, and then the rest of the red is paid by a third.
This is a mess.
Or the other option is we just leave it alone. We don't do anything with it.
Well, that's obvious. We have it for 7, 8 years. So let's not go there. Are we gonna try to fix this issue or not? However, I still want to see some paperwork. I still want Attorney Zito to look at what's already in writing. There's just some things that need to make sense before we can just say, yes, 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 move forward.
And I agree with you on that. So we're saying that 1, 5, and the rest of red have active leases right now.
They do not have active leases. There are no active leases on file.
But they're paying.
They are paying per the rate that was their original lease.
And he just said the rate was the same.
It was averaging 210.
Averaging 210.
So all the red property and the blue property are the 3 faithful ones.
Correct.
Well, I made a motion. Can we get a second?
Well, let's clarify that motion.
So the motion is to move this to the first council meeting in September. Is that correct?
I said the cow. However, I would be willing to change it. So as long as what we need is at that meeting.
We have a motion that's been made and a second for September, not the first meeting in September, whatever date that is.
It's the Tuesday.
Tuesday, the 3rd.
Monday's a holiday.
So please clarify what you'd like to see so we can go through their files to see if we actually have that. We currently have a spreadsheet of leases, the acres that they lease, and if they pay or not. That's I believe, what we have internally. And Dovey, yes, go ahead.
I have leases.
You do have leases.
I do, yeah, but it's the dump of old leases. We'd have to go through them and see which ones are still there and.
So the property that you said was underwater or a swamp.
The swampy area is the
Where-
purple area.
And so it's not being used for anything.
Nope, people are farming it. It's just probably not the choice ground out of what is shown here.
So with that said, you'll probably get less than $210 on average an acre.
Which we currently get 0.
Correct. So there's your bottom.
Well, again, staff's just trying to fix something that we were asked to fix. So we'll provide you whatever information you want. If you want to go in a different direction and Attorney Zito says it's legal, we have no problem with that. We're just trying to reduce the issues with the leases, less to manage, less to worry about. It would be fantastic if the 3 people that are currently renting the property took it all. We would love that.
We would too. So with that said, we have a first and a second. Madam Clerk.
Monroe.
Aye.
Simmons. Parker.
Aye.
Stacy.
Aye.
Shadle.
No.
Sellers. And Clem.
Aye.
The motion passes 6-1.
Awesome, thank you. We turn the map off so the folks at home can see us. Sorry, I got a text, multiple texts. Let's see here. So that moves us to item number 11, discussion regarding revision to ordinance approving accessible parking space on Exchange near Galena Avenue, presented by Manager Boyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kurt, I hate to ask for this, but can we put the thing back up?
More maps, that's perfect.
And may I have the laser pointer? Would that be possible? Yeah. Maybe Mrs. Kohlbauer had it last. Okay. Anyway, the City of Freeport has several requests for additional ADA parking spots at the corner of Galena and Exchange. You'll note that the VA is centered in that building at that corner. There's a mobility challenged constituent that works in that area, and there are many mobility challenged folks that come in and out of there. So that's kind of the justification for the additional ADA parking spot. Measurements were taken by the city engineer to size the ADA parking spots on the south side of Exchange to install an additional ADA parking stall. The area would be reserved 68 feet from Galena right-of-way to install an additional ramp in this location. The 15-minute parking designation will be relocated to the stall to the west of these ADA reserve locations. And so let me see if I can get it straight here. Oop. Well, this is a remote, but I don't know if it's a. Oh, here we go. So we're basically talking in, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, the way this is labeled, Kurt. But we're asking for an additional ADA spot. I believe the existing one's here, and then move in the 15-minute there. Is that, Kurt, is that correct?
I believe so. Yeah, the first two spots would be ADA spots, and the third spot would be.
And this is your 15-minute parking area.
That's not the right color, though. If you looked at the key, the 15 should.
Okay, I'm sorry, that's 30-minute there.
Yeah.
But
Well,
either case, these two spots would be lined up here, and then we would have our 30-minute loading zone here. Now, just a special note, there is also an ADA parking spot across the street. However, in discussions with the manager there at the VA Center, she had mentioned that that's a challenge for anybody trying to come in and out of the VA Center to go across the street and that type of thing. So, anyway, staff's recommendation is to approve the new ADA parking stall based on the request from the mobility challenged individuals. So, and we can move that forward to the first or the second meeting in August if council approves.
Any comments? I'll make a motion to move this forward.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk?
Monroe,
Aye.
Simmons, Parker,
Aye.
Stacy,
Aye.
Shadle,
Aye.
Sellers, and Clem.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
That brings us to item number 12, continued discussion regarding extended Pretzel City Skills Enhancement Program with Midwest Contractors, presented by Alderpersons Stacy and Simmons. Ladies, you have the floor.
Over the last 3 months, the Pretzel City Skill Enhancement Program has been a resounding source, providing a valuable service to the citizens of Freeport. The numbers speak for themselves. 383 tons of hot mix material laid, and the overall positive response from our constituents. Forgive me. As far as I and Alderperson Rachel and many other tax-paying citizens are concerned, the Pretzel City Skill Enhancement Program has been a significant achievement. This is reinforced by the overwhelming support of 161 taxpayers who have signed the online petition that you have in front of you. Also in the packet is the dates and the amount of hot mix that was done during the 3 months. Our constituents understand the importance of this program, especially when they hear that the city plans to resurf 6.5 miles of road per year over the next 20 years. What happens to all the other roads that haven't been scheduled for resurfing within a specific season? Are these roads ignored and allowed to further deteriorate until their turn? The urgency of the issues cannot be overstated. How are we going to, at the least, provide some relief to those citizens who live on the roads that are not yet scheduled for resurfacing? We have an answer right in front of us: the Pretzel City Enhancement Program. This program can help to slow down the deterioration of the streets that are not yet scheduled to be resurfaced. By filling potholes, the program can preserve the integrity of non-scheduled resurfaced streets until their resurfacing time has come. This is not hard. It is plain and pure common sense. We already have the mechanism. All we have to do is renew it. Let's talk about the social impact the program has. During these first 3 months, 2 local minority youth were employed and trained in street repairs, a young lady and a young man whom the program helped to redeem their troubled past. This program provides an opportunity for our youth to learn a skilled trade while also providing a blueprint for other youth seeking to change their lives. I have been told that multiple youth have approached Mr. Harrell and asked him if he is hiring because they too would like to be a part of this program. We have had numerous city league meetings on how to reach our most vulnerable youth. And the answer is always engage them in something positive and deter them from criminal activities. And again, I say we have a piece of the answer right in front of us. All we have to do is renew it. Here is what we did not know about the program. Mr. Sellers, the author of Pretzel City Skill Enhancement, also wrote a life skill learning curriculum within the program. So on rainy days, the trainees meet and they learn financial literacy, budgeting, checking and saving accounts, investing, credit scores, and the importance of home ownership, plus how to break generational poverty. Safety standards while on the job, the importance of obeying the law and respecting authority, time management and the importance of being on time, how to be a role model for younger children, and last but not least, the program introduces volunteerism on how each participant has chosen to volunteer at least 1 hour per month at a local nonprofit organization. In conclusion, council members, we have an opportunity to continue supporting a well-rounded program. that has actually made a difference, a program that can potentially change our local youth lives and life paths, a program that can preserve and repair our road conditions. And last but not least, a program that we can all be proud of. I hope that each of you join me in voting yes to approve the renewal of the Pretzel City Skill Enhancement Program on our next City Council meeting on Monday, August 19th, 2024.
Any comments?
So what our goal is to have this to come back to council as an actionable item where we vote on extending this program. So whatever we need to do to make that happen, we would like to see that come back to the council. And hopefully, in seeing the numbers and what you've seen in real time when you're outside and you see them filling the potholes, that we have some support behind all that.
Any other comments? Attorney Zito.
I guess my only question is, so we have an original agreement for this program. Then I assume then we would need to probably get into start conversations. Staff would need to start conversations with the contractor to see, are we doing it on the exact same terms? In which case then the agreement would be fairly simple. Or is it on new terms, or I don't know. I guess we need to have those discussions then, I assume.
Yes.
Okay.
And I have mentioned this to City Manager Boyer because we have so much season left to work on the roads. And yeah, I'm trying to bring this back now so that we could take advantage of the rest of the season.
Yes, you have the floor.
So yes, if it works for the contractor under the original terms, that seems to have worked for the city. I don't know the ins and outs, but yes, that would save a lot of work if they could both agree on the original terms and just start a new contract.
Okay. And just but the contract, the length of this renewal would just be to finish out the rest of this construction season?
If that would better suit.
I mean, we could do September, October. If we can come back as is, I mean, we can do half of August, September, October.
Mr. Stiegel?
So the current contract that we have with NW, I reviewed it last week, and it had a clause in there that it said that if it was to be renewed, it had to be initiated by the city or MW within 30 days of the expiration, which was, I believe, July 1st. And so I don't know if it can be extended. It would have to be a renewed contract because it wasn't extended during that period. So I think it would have to be a new contract in order to be passed.
Unless the rules were suspended.
I
It
don't
wouldn't
think
be
you
an
can
ordinance.
suspend
So
that.
I think right now, based off of what Darren just said, it looks like instead of renewing the contract, we would just be doing a new contract. Now, granted, it could be on the exact same terms, just for a different time period. That's all.
Manager Boyer, did you have something to add?
As staff is still evaluating the outcome of the contract, I appreciate the numbers that were provided. We haven't completely finished our review of the program as it stands. It was a pilot program. We wanted to see what we need to start somewhere, and then we need to see what we need to change moving forward. And we're still kind of in that review process. So and I will just say that I too agree that we did patch quite a few potholes, and we do need that. However, I think that we're going to need to do a little bit of changes to the thing moving forward.
Alderperson Simmons?
So my question is for Attorney Zito, hearing Manager Boyer's response. How do we as council put it on the agenda to then direct the department heads to put this in action? To make it happen?
Well, your motion could be to task staff to work towards, a new contract with MW, I think is what you're asking.
Right, so I would make a motion to have that then put on, I would put it on the agenda for next meeting, or I would make that motion now during our discussion? 'Cause that's
I
what-
think your motion could include saying, for the next city council meeting, August 19th or whatever it is, that we would direct staff to have for that meeting, I assume a new contract with MW, if I'm hearing what your
Yes,
goal
that's what I
is.
would like to do then. I would like to make a motion to direct staff to come up with a new contract for them for the next city council meeting, which would be August 19th.
Okay, so you want discussions between the city staff to evaluate all of the progress and meet with the contractor to come up with an agreement that both parties are okay with in a week.
Well, if it will be the same, can I respond? If it will be the same terms, just a new contract, I don't see where that would be a problem for them to sit down under the same contract because they've already both agreed to it, and we're just doing it for another 2 or 3 months.
Alderman Sellers.
But I think we would want a new contract because it was only in 90 days. So in order for us to not have to come back again and again, I think that putting a new contract and them working together and getting exactly what we're looking for and what we need, I don't have a problem with that.
I would be willing to amend my motion. However, 90 days is pretty much all we have left in this season anyways. Now, if we want to do the contract to have them to come back next season, that I would be willing to push a little bit farther. But just to have them can come back and get back working, I think that should be okay.
Manager Boyer.
I did want to highlight the fact that part of this was a training program. We are currently hiring one of the candidates from the program, but we really don't know where we stand with this until we have a chance to work with the individuals from the program, see them successfully integrate and work for the department. I think that's one aspect of it. It's not simply just patching potholes. It's not simply working with youth. The whole point of it was to have a pipeline of workers that came to the street department, and we haven't had a chance to even hire one yet. We're in the process of hiring one now.
Okay, I would like to say it, City Manager Boyer. You brought this to the council. You wanted it, and you wanted it now. And everything that needed to be suspended was suspended. It was voted on that day, and it passed. And so we have saw the benefit in this. And there's not a whole lot left in this season, 2.5, maybe 3 months. And we want it. And we want it now, just like you wanted it when you brought it to us. We didn't even totally understand everything we were accepting. But it passed because you wanted it. And so I need you to yet consider that tonight. We the constituents, the taxpayers, have saw a difference. We've been begging for a difference, asking for a difference in our streets. And we got it. And so now we want more. And I ask that you do whatever it is you have to do to take in consideration what we are asking of you tonight.
Alderwoman Sellers. Or Simmons.
So, Manager Boyer, I understand what you're saying. I appreciate it. I do think that it has only been a short time that the program lasted, and extending it for the rest of the season would give you the sufficient amount of time to actually see if it works, how many you can integrate into our public work our city department, and have them, like, it gives you time to do that, and then look at the numbers, and you have almost a complete season to take your data from.
Manager Boyer.
I understand what you're saying, and I will work on that as rapidly as possible. There are some changes that have to happen to the agreement. We had one issue where there was a typo in the tonnage, and we weren't fully aware of how much that could have been, should have been, whatever. There was also an issue with the number of yield program students. There was also young men of the community. So we had a couple of things in the agreement that have to be clarified, as well as equipment and some other thoughts. So just bear in mind that there are going to have to be some changes for this to work. So
I would be willing to amend my motion to the first week in September, if that would give you adequate time to make the changes to what you already have.
Manager Boyer.
Okay.
Would that be?
I am planning to be gone for 2 weeks in August. I've been looking forward to taking some time off, so that would probably be a challenge to get done.
I knew you had something to say.
Okay, I would just like to say that I do feel that the program really did help us, and it did some really good work. And a lot of the streets that you could not ride on, you can ride on nice and smoothly until we can get to them. And I think people really appreciated that. I do know that this company, they did work hard. I did see them. I did see some of the work. But I know for me that I will abstain because it's personal for me. And so, but I do know that they did a great job. They, a lot of streets that before the tar was in there and 2 days later would be out. You can ride on these streets, and I think that's what people want right now, to be able to just ride safely down their streets without messing up their axles and whatever else they have there. But I will step back because it is personal to me.
I'll urge you not to step back, and the reason why I would is because I think there's an opportunity for both the city to gain valuable employees, as well as some of our other bigger corporations like Helm and Fisher and others. It creates a pipeline of people that are going into the trades, and there's an opportunity to continue to push that momentum. And I'll agree. I've driven a lot of the streets in the city of Freeport, and the roads are as good as they've been in a long time. And I think that push forward is an important one. And I get that you want to take time off, and I think we should respect that. We should, though, try to come up with a plan at some point pretty soon, because we do have, 45 to 60 days left. We've got a staff that works for you that could have some of that pulled together for you as well. So, I think those are the kinds of things, I trust Darren's judgment. I trust Pat's judgment, a lot of other staff members, to be able to pull together some of the information. And I know that we know some of the good things and the bad things. And I think correcting the bad part is the part we really need to kind of focus on. And if we take that focus and come back and they have it ready for you when you return, I would love to at least try to make it a stab at it. And I think it just makes a lot of sense. I know we don't have a lot of time left before the snow flies, and the roads have got to be done before November, because we're well into leaf season. Pat's crews are going to be busy, and it's important to kind of break that out. But I also understand that we budgeted for this year as well. So you had something to say, Ms. Simmons? Okay.
Alderperson Sellers, this would not be the time for you to say it's personal and that you don't want to vote. That would have been when we first had the vote about this. I understand you're wanting to abstain. Hopefully, like if it personally benefited you, I would understand you're abstaining at this time and when we first voted on it, which did not happen, but I don't understand why you would abstain, because that's just to vote as no.
Well, actually,
That's my
people
choice.
abstain all the time, and they have no given reason. She just said it was a conflict of interest. She has a conflict of interest. She has a conflict of interest. That's her right.
You are right, Mayor Miller, and it drives me crazy. But if you have a conflict of interest now, you had it when we initially voted, is all I was saying. That's what I was saying. So please don't do it now.
Yes.
Attorney Zito, abstention go with the majority, correct?
So this, where you're looking to move something forward, you need 5 votes in the affirmative, right? So that's how,
That's what we'll be looking for.
right, just 5 votes in the affirmative.
So, just some comments from Public Works. So, we agree with many statements here tonight that we think the program's valuable. We think that it was a good pilot for the program. There is issues with the program, and there's also good things about the program. We're not coming to the council meeting here to air the dirty laundry about the program. I don't think that's fair to it. We do have to make some changes to it. The one thing I will say publicly is, based on the financials of the program that I'm very in tune with, it certainly is not in the favor of the city at this point, and not in favor of our public works people as well. And so that's something that we need to evaluate, because when I do the math based on the tonnage, the rate is double what we're paying our own people, and that is not fair to them. And that's one of the issues that has come out of the program based on the hours that were worked and the tons that were done. We're never going to say that it was not good work. They did very good work. We're very happy with the work. But there are some discrepancies here that need to be addressed to make it fair for the city, fair for the constituents, and fair for the contractor. And I think that's something that we saw in the pilot program, that we didn't technically have the Boys and Girls Club or the training people that we thought we were going to have. We actually only had 2 on the program. We were expecting at least 4. We were also expecting at least 8 hours a day, and we didn't see that many days. And we were expecting more tonnage for the time period. Not saying that a bad job was done. It was a training program. So we're all on board on making something like this move forward, but it does have to be refined to where it's equitable for the city and all the public works team and the city staff as well. And so I think that's the process, is we haven't had enough time to digest that, to see what the changes should be to make it continue to be a successful program.
Alderperson Stacy.
Yes. To my understanding, there was supposed to be 3 adults and 2 youth students.
I don't believe that's what the contract stated. I believe it said 1 supervisor and 4 trainees. And then I couldn't answer you why, but the Boys and Girls Club decided not to participate in the program.
And so that's not their fault if the Yale kids were not able to be used. One person saw the vision and wanted to be a part of, and they were, and they came out of the Yield program. However, when you're told you can't use our kids, what is one supposed to do? There's still kids out there looking for a direction, a way of life, a motivation to redirect where they are compared to where they want to be. And, you know, I've talked with some of the city people, and their biggest problem was this prevailing wage thing, because in the contract, they had to pay prevailing wages, and good. But our own city employees, union and all, don't even get prevailing wage. And that was one big thing they had a problem with. But I don't know if if Fairground was ever told you got to pay prevailing wage, or Helm, or Fisher, or whoever else.
All labor contracts in Illinois are, so physical labor.
So why aren't our city crew paid prevailing wage?
Municipalities are exempt to prevailing wage standards. That's a state-done deal, not anything done by the city. Again, we thought it was a successful program, but there was deviations in it, and that's why we're looking at a corrective period. And not saying it can't move forward, but on the city's end of the evaluation, we do have to make some corrections. It was a first-time trial. There's good things from it, there's bad things from it. We can fix it, the things that are bad. There's not that many bad things, but fixing some of that might not make it as an advantageous to the contractor too. So there will have to be a negotiation of cost.
I think bottom line is there needs to be some time to be able to process all of this.
Manager Boyer.
As a matter of fact, I'd be happy to meet with Alderwoman Stacy and Alderwoman Simmons to discuss some of the details and some of our information that we have so far. So we'd be willing to sit down and discuss that and kind of bring you up to speed on what we have so far.
When do you leave for vacation?
Well, hopefully the 20th.
So I will amend my motion, but the motion's still making that motion. Now, we are voted down. I'll amend the motion to a later date, and we can sit with you, but I feel at that time, in that time frame, we should be able to see what you want to change. Like, that should have been happening as the program was going on. Like, this doesn't work. Noted. That didn't work. Noted. This did work. And so, again, I'll amend my motion to a later date than this next meeting to give you some time to work on that. I'm willing to make that and meet with you in the meantime. Okay.
Yes, Attorney Zito.
Could you clarify what the later date is?
Sure. Let me ask Darren a question. So when normally does construction like that, like street maintenance, stop? When is it too cold?
I'm gonna say right around Thanksgiving gets to be, leading up to Thanksgiving, it just depends on, what temperatures are at that point. Once we start getting down to freezing temperatures, we can't hot patch any longer. But I would say if we did something the first part of September, you're looking at almost 3 months, which is what the original contract was for,
Okay.
right?
So-
September, October, November, almost November. So
So I make a motion, we bring this back to the first meeting in September?
I already have a motion. Yeah. I made a motion.
Oh, I thought you pulled it.
I'm amending it to a later date.
Okay.
So I was thinking the first meeting in September. I would also be open to having it put on the CAL so we can move it to that third meeting to vote on. This is me.
So which do you want, the first meeting or the cow?
Well, I'm asking to see which will work better for Public Works and Manager Boyer.
Let's do the first.
The first meeting would be fine.
Okay, so yes, I will amend my motion to direct staff to please do what needs to be done to negotiate with the contractor and bring it back to the first meeting in September.
Is that okay with you, Miss Stacy?
Yes, sir.
So we have a
that'd
first
be
and a
the
second.
3rd, September 3rd.
September 3rd.
Or fourth,
Mr. Chair,
the holiday.
Yes, Mr. Clem.
could you please reinstate what the actual motion is here? since it's so hard to hear.
Yes, the motion is that item number 12, further discussions between Alderperson Stacy and Alderperson Simmons occurs with the city manager and the public works director, and that the goal would be to bring back on the first meeting, September 3rd, to discuss and move forward with item number 12.
Okay, thank you very much.
Is that right?
And basically directing staff to start working on a new contract.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second.
Who's the second?
Ms. Stacy. City Clerk, the floor is yours.
I'm sorry, did you direct me to take roll?
To take a roll, please.
Monroe,
Aye.
Simmons,
Aye.
Parker,
Aye.
Stacy,
Aye.
Shadle,
Aye.
Sellers, Clem.
Aye.
The motion passes 7-0.
Item number 13, continued discussion regarding ordinance amending Chapter 806 regarding BYOB establishments, presented by Manager Boyer.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Cox.
Yep, I yield my time to Attorney Cox.
Sorry about that, Steve.
Anytime you want to present, Rob, that's fine. So, good evening, everybody. You should have a copy in front of you of a revised BYOB ordinance, which takes the form of an amendment to Chapter 806. As the council will remember, this was previously brought forward on a suggestion from the Liquor Commission in a significantly different form. That significantly increased the cost of a license and limited the number of events. There was quite a bit of discussion at council, and that was ultimately deemed to be not the direction the city wanted to go. That was sent back down to the Liquor Commission, and the Liquor Commission has spent some time reconsidering its recommendation on that point, and as a matter of fact, bringing some stakeholders into the process. And what you have in front of you is that reworked ordinance. Without going through every word in here, basically the intent is to create a mini special event for each instance where an event or a party or a reception is held at a BYOB establishment. So what we're patterning this as is a sort of pre-licensed special event where somebody can go out and at a relatively low cost obtain their own keg or liquors or beer, hire a bartender. There has to be a Bassett trained server serving all of the beverages, which is a very important thing, and that's kind of at the core of this whole regulation. That somebody can go out and do that without having to go out and get a temporary license and have a sponsor and go to Chicago and get another license with the state. Rather, so long as they have a known Bassett trained server, they have something worked out with the establishment, they can do that at a much better cost. The other thing that was removed was the limitation on the number of events. Rather, what you see is a sort of pay-as-you-go requirement where the licensing fees go up. There is no limit on the number of events that somebody can have, but the more events, obviously, the more you pay for your license fee the following year. And we feel, the Liquor Commission feels that that is the most equitable way to go with that sort of thing. So if you have 2 or 3 events, you're not paying nearly as much as somebody that has something every weekend. So that's at core what we're looking at here. If anybody has any specific questions about the proposal, I'm happy to chat about it.
Discussion? Questions for the attorney?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Alderman Monroe?
Yes, Alderman Clem.
Yes. I have real strong feelings on this as far as the BYOB thing is. the way it's set up and a number of things that go along with it. I'm sorry I'm not in attendance, and I could hardly even hear what Steve had to say. And also, to add to it, every agenda I have is a draft agenda, so I didn't have one to open up to read what was presented to us. But I believe that we should move forward on it, but I will be there for discussion next week regardless. But I think there's a lot of things to talk about. You've got two businesses that are BYOB businesses. One of them has all kinds of fines against it, and the second one is the new business of the year. So you got one extreme to the other here, and I believe one of the things that we really need to weigh into is what is really a BYOB, number one, okay? And there is no, I looked this morning, there is absolutely no legislation that has been brought to, or in the city of Illinois, according to IML, that has brought up or been argued on the BYOB licensing. So it's kind of a wide open thing, but I think we need to all do a little research on this and check into it. I'm for moving it forward, and we'll make a motion to do that. But I believe there's a lot more to this than what meets the eye.
Any other comments?
Is there a lot more to this than what meets the eye?
Don't know.
That is always the case with legislation. At core, the BYOB ordinance was proposed and enacted by the city for two reasons. One, to provide a lower cost alternative to families that just wanted to have a low key event, did not want to or could not afford to rent out one of the prepaid establishments that brought in a bartender that provided the space, et cetera, et cetera. And secondly, and I think probably most importantly, the state of Illinois, as Tom points out, the state of Illinois does not regulate parties. So the state of Illinois regulates very strictly the sale of alcoholic beverages. What it does not regulate is social host situations where a host decides to have a large number of people at their home or at their place of business or a meeting hall, for instance, which they own. So when the city enacted the BYOB regulations, it enacted that at the same time as we enacted the meeting hall regulations. In other words, if you have a place where a large number of people are going to gather, we worry about making sure that fire department has taken a look at ingress and egress, that sort of thing. And when you mix in serving alcohol, obviously that brings any number of other problems into place. So you have the same sort of situation that you have when you're dealing with a bar, very much. You have the same kind of concerns about safety and underage consumption and all those things. So what the city did in enacting that BYOB is it did wrap regulations around an otherwise unregulated sort of thing. And this was done, I remember in conversations, I think, with Chief Summers at the time. Chicago was experiencing and continues to experience this issue with social clubs, which is, basically just a place that you really wouldn't want to be, and that bringing in underage people and serving as a front for all sorts of criminal activities. And ultimately, PD can't get in there to regulate things, and it just becomes very difficult. So if we're having a large number of people in a place, we regulate it. So that's what the meeting hall legislation is. And now if you want to have one of those BYOB events where somebody brings people into a already licensed meeting hall, you need to get another set of regulations or another set of qualifications, and that's the BYOB. So it's on top of the meeting hall regulations. Now this does provide that you can still have sales on that premises if you go through all the hoops you'd have to anywhere else. So if you want to go out and get a temporary license, which means you have to get licensed through our liquor commission, then you have to go to Chicago and get another license. You can have a special event license just like you would see for the fair, for instance, or something like that. Or if you are a licensed caterer, and we have a catering license that matches up with what the state has for a caterer's license. So that's sort of a portable liquor license that you can go around, but you're under a whole nother set of regulations there. So in answer to the question, yes, there's always a lot more there than what you see in the regulation. And the idea with the regulation really is just to break down the concerns that we have and provide a regulatory scheme to try to address as many of those issues as we possibly can. And again, I think the point here, and I know the Liquor Commission does a great job of interfacing with the stakeholders. So at these meetings, we had at least one of the licensees there at every meeting. In fact, they brought counsel in to discuss this. And some of the recommendations that you'll see on the limitations in terms of, well, we have a written lease with everybody when they come in, and we have a liability insurance policy, and we have a Bassett trained server. That was actually a recommendation from a stakeholder. And that's all good business. So I think that, the Liquor Commission spent a great deal of time considering this, and I think what they brought forward here shows the amount of care and work that they've put into this. And for what it's worth, I think it's a good piece of legislation, and it addresses, from the standpoint of experience over the last few years, some of the problems we've had and some of the problems that perhaps we anticipate. So I know that was a long-winded answer, but that's I think it's important to get that out there.
Did you hear that, Alderman Clem?
I heard very little of it, but I would like to respond to it if I could.
Sure.
Okay. The one thing I see, and I've been to all these Liquor Commission meetings too. The only one I missed was the last one where it was moved forward, and like I say, I had a draft agenda, so I couldn't open anything. It wasn't even listed on my agenda, the one that I have. Rob and I talked about this morning, and then he came back and said it's item number 13, and item number 13 is what your next item is about something that's minor. But anyway, talking about the BYOB, here's where I see the big difference that we're doing. Steve, Attorney Cox talked mentioned the city of Chicago. My daughter and son live in here. I've gone to places that have BYOB. BYOB is for Mr. and Mrs. Clem to bring in a bottle of wine and have with our meal. A BYOB is not to bring your party in and to have as many as the one person wants to have as many as 250 to 300 occasions a year. Well, if you're going to do that, you almost ought to have a liquor license. What I see here, and I mentioned at a Liquor Commission hearing, is everybody wants a license, but nobody wants to buy it. Okay? So I think the way we're operating our BYOB is, take example, there was another one, and I can't think of the name of it, but it was going to be down on the corner of Main and Van Buren, and before they had their liquor license applied for and all that kind of stuff, there was a shooting there. Ask Chief Schenberger, if you would, what Chief Schenberger thinks of BYOB licenses and how he can police those occasions. That's one of the big things I see.
Yes. Floor is yours.
Yeah. So I think what Attorney Cox was saying about us not being to go in there, that's accurate. I think you already covered that. Maybe Tom didn't, or Alderman Clem didn't hear that, but we did have a very serious incident. I think it was in the spring of 2022. There was, if my memory is correct, I think they had a meeting hall license perhaps, but not the BYOB, but it was on Main Street. There was a party, and then it resulted in a shooting incident that was moved down to Spring Street, where an individual almost died but did not. Sometimes we just, without us being in there or being able to regulate, you just don't know what's going to happen, and it can be a little scary at times.
Any other comments?
Alderman Roy, I just say, like, I believe we should move it forward to
Yeah.
discuss it. I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. And I'll come back to that, I'm going under certain circumstances, and I can't really hear what everybody said good enough to take it all in, you know what I mean? So
No, yeah.
I would make the motion to move it forward.
Do we have a second? We have a second. Alderman Parker.
Is that move forward to the cow for further discussion? Is that what you're talking, Alderperson Clem?
In my situation, normally I'd say, we can also, let me ask this question. If we move it forward to the regular meeting next week, okay, and we discuss it and we decide it ought to go back to the Liquor Commission, can we do it at that time?
Yes.
Yes.
Is the answer to that?
Yeah.
Yes, was the answer.
Yeah, it would be.
Okay,
second
then no,
reading.
I'll move it forward to the next meeting.
We've already had.
I'd make that motion, Lee.
We would need a motion to accept the revisions. But we're heading into second reading because it's already had. first reading.
Okay. That's okay.
Because it would be a first reading, correct?
No, Alderman Clem, this is Aaron. So this, Dovey just mentioned to me that this ordinance in its original form actually came for first reading. It was sent back to the Liquor Commission. Revisions were made, and now it's coming back before you. So what needs to happen procedurally is if you want to amend your motion to say that your motion is to accept the amended version of the ordinance and move that forward to the next city council meeting in the second meeting in August for second reading. And at that point, if you still wanted to refer it back to the commission, you still could at that second meeting in August.
Alderman Monroe?
Yes.
At this point, having not seen what all has been brought forward, I'll retract my motion, but I'm sure that if there's two of you to move it forward, that's fine. Someplace it's got to be discussed, and it's got to be discussed on all the good points and all the bad points.
Are you going to be here in a week?
I'll have to come home. It's that simple.
Okay.
Because the only problem, Alderman Monroe, please hear me out here just a second. This phone setup is absolutely terrible. You cannot hear anybody on that end. The last meeting I was at, I tried to get in to make a motion or to add something to it, and no one even heard it. So it's just a real terrible situation for somebody away. But there's nothing I can do about that, and I apologize for that.
Yeah, no worries, Tom. You don't have to apologize. So you're withdrawing your motion then?
I'll withdraw my motion because I have not seen what they sent forward.
Yep.
I won't do something blindly. You know what I mean?
Yep. Gotcha. Do you?
Yeah, I'll withdraw. I'm gonna go along with Tom. I made the motion with Tom.
So.
I didn't make a motion to move it forward, but.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to move it to the first meeting in September as well. That way it's got time and, you don't have to rush back, Tom. And
Okay.
we'll do it with the amendments that have been brought up to this point. And
Second.
we've got a second of Alderman Parker.
Okay. Thank you.
No worries, sir. So with that said, Madam Clerk, can you take the roll?
Monroe,
Aye.
Simmons, Parker,
Aye.
Stacy,
Aye.
Shadle,
Aye.
Sellers, and Clem.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
So item number 14 is the annual Water Ambassador Council training presented by Randy Kobauer, Environmental and Regulatory Compliance Officer, and all things airport property.
All right, so the Water Ambassador Program. Of course. Hold on. Will that bring up the notes too? Okay. There it is. Okay. Sorry. So, all right, we're going to go with my notes on the screen as well. So,
Can
like
you read
I
that
said,
first
my name is
line?
Randy Kolbar. I'm the Environmental and Regulatory Compliance Officer for the city. This presentation is intended to fulfill the requirements of Standard 1 for the elected official education for the ISAWWA Water Ambassador Program. I don't know what just happened. So I'll provide a brief overview of the ISAWWA Water Ambassador Program before discussing Illinois' water sources and regulations governing our water utility, and then I'll provide information about the City of Freeport's water infrastructure and the staff behind the water. I believe everyone received a link for Drinking Water 123 in their email earlier in this year. This presentation goes along with that reading. So first, what is ISAWWA and what is the Water Ambassador Program? The American Water Works Association is a professional organization representing all aspects of the water community, including public water and wastewater systems, environmental advocates, scientists, academics, and others who hold a genuine interest in the water. The Illinois section AWWA provides resources for advocacy of safe and sustainable water through enriching membership, mentoring, and increasing public awareness. In 2021, ISAWWA launched the Water Ambassador Program to elevate public perception, knowledge, and consumer education of the water industry. This program aims to accomplish these goals by presenting a new communication platform of educational and promotional content in a manner that is relevant, engaging, and consistent among participants. This program is open to public, private water utilities, and participating members can achieve bronze, silver, or gold levels based on their frequency and methods of communication. Completion of these standards includes things such as pinning water-related infographics to the municipal website for 1 month and including an infographic as a water billing insert or in the municipal newsletter for 1 issue. And then there's a website if you guys want more detailed information on it. To date, the City of Freeport has received the Gold Award for the past 2 years. Again, this presentation is intended to fulfill the requirements of Standard 1, the elected official education of the ISAWWA Water Ambassador Program. I'll broadly discuss Illinois water sources and regulations before diving into the specifics of our system. In Illinois, water sources include Lake Michigan, surface waters such as rivers and reservoirs, groundwater, and a combination of these sources. Some communities extract water straight from the source, and others purchase water from another municipality or distributor, such as a water district, water commission, water agency, or private company. Lake Michigan is the largest public drinking water supply in the state, serving 56% of the state's residents. However, Illinois use of Lake Michigan water is limited by the U.S. Supreme Court decree that caps our total withdrawals at 3,200 CFS based on a 40-year average. 61% of the state's municipalities and 26% of the state's population rely on groundwater, which comes from shallow aquifers within the 500 feet of the Earth's surface and deep aquifers located at depths at least 500 feet or below. Groundwater recharge is an important part of the hydrologic system cycle. When there's precipitation, water moves through the surface of the earth to natural storage areas below the ground, which recharge or refill these water sources. The depth of the aquifer impacts rates of recharge, as does the amount of impervious surfaces, buildings, roads, and whatnot. Other inland surface waters provide water for 13% of the state's population. The Safe Drinking Water Act or the SDWA, was enacted by Congress in 1974 to ensure water supply systems in the U.S. are providing good quality water to consumers. The act authorizes the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, or the EPA, to establish minimum standards of drinking water and requires all owners or operators of public water systems to comply with these health-related standards. Utilities are responsible for regularly testing and the quality of drinking water and comparing the test results to the health-based standards known as maximum contaminant levels, or MCLs. There are MCLs for bacteria, metals such as chromium and lead, inorganic chemicals such as arsenic and nitrate, and organic chemicals including pesticides. Providing an annual comprehensive consumer confidence report is not only required, but it can greatly assist your community in keeping customers informed and confident that their water utility is providing them with quality service. IEPA reporting, in addition to the federal requirements of the SDWA, there are state of Illinois requirements that apply to community public water systems. State requirements can be found in Subtitle F of Title 35 of the Illinois Administrative Code and are implemented by the Illinois EPA. The maximum contaminant level and monitoring requirements generally mirror the federal requirements. However, Illinois established additional programs and requirements to strengthen public health protection. Also, since 2018, all Illinois municipalities are required to submit an annual service line material inventory, including the number of all known lead service lines within or connected to the distribution system. IDNR reporting for Lake Michigan permittees only. They oversee Lake Michigan allegations and regulate water withdrawals and other surface waters. I'm gonna kind of skip that. IDNR also regulates water withdrawals from other surface waters such as Fox and the Kankakee rivers. Other regulations governed by the Illinois Department of Public Health, and in some cases, the Illinois Commerce Commission. So we'll go over and discuss the specific details of the City of Freeport's water utility. The city uses groundwater as its source of water. The city currently has 5 wells at various depths. 2 of our shallow wells are reserved for emergency use only. Our 3 deeper wells supply fresh water to consumers daily. After the water is pulled from the ground, it is then sent into the well houses for treatment. All water is treated with both chlorine and fluoride. Water from well 11, located on Burchard, also runs through a filtration system to remove iron and radium. After the water has been treated, it is then sent out to the system to be used by consumers. The City of Freeport's water system consists of 2 elevated tanks, 1 ground tank. At any time, there's about 3.5 million gallons of water in those 3 tanks. The system consists of about 150 miles of water main. The water main feeds 10,159 residential users and 1,054 commercial and industrial users. Then goes back into the tanks to be used when needed and to help maintain system pressures. In 2023, city staff and infrastructure produced and supplied 894 million gallons of water. The staff behind the water. This section discussed the condition, oh yeah, that's not right. The staff behind the water. So this section goes through what it takes for the water to get to your home. So the staff required to ensure clean water is available to all customers includes certified water operators, the construction crew, the service crew, laboratory staff, and the maintenance crew. We currently have six construction crew, 4 certified water operators, 2 on the service crew, 3 in the lab, and currently 2 maintenance. So what is a water operator? Water operators are certified by the state of Illinois after passing an exam and putting in the hours required by the state. Our operators ensure that levels of chlorine and fluoride are within the limits and are consistently monitoring equipment and the system for problems. This constant supervision allows our staff to provide clean, safe drinking water at all hours of the day, 365 days a year. The construction crew is on call 24 hours a day in response to water main breaks, flushes the water main to ensure water quality, installs and maintains hydrants and valves, as well as installs new service lines for homes. This crew is also responsible for the collection system as well. The service crew is responsible for assisting with turning on new water services, shutting off water service for various reasons, collecting routine bacteria samples from the system, investigating customer complaints, and helping the construction crew during emergency situations. Lab staff assists the water sample testing for bacteria, determine if and when boil orders are lifted, send samples to outside labs for further analysis, and report information to regulatory agencies situations. They are also responsible for wastewater testing and results as well. The maintenance crew is responsible for maintaining all 5 wells and their components in a good state of good working condition, as well as all of the PRVs and the booster stations. This crew is on call 24 hours a day in case of an emergency. These guys tackle everything from rebuilding pumps to helping calibrate chlorine pumps. The maintenance crew is also in charge of maintaining and repairing equipment at the wastewater plant. There are so many aspects to water, from finding the right source, the science of treating the water, to ensuring the safety to the people beyond the scenes, making sure everything runs smoothly. Are there any questions?
Questions? Comments? Thank you very much. That brings us to item number 15, public comments. This can be agenda or non-agenda items, limited to 3 minutes per person. Is anybody here to speak? Doesn't look like it. So that moves us to item number 16, which is adjournment. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Sellers, seconded by Alderman Shadle. Roll call, please.
Oh, I wasn't ready for that, sorry. Monroe.
Aye.
Simmons.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Stacy.
Aye.
Shadle.
Aye.
Sellers.
Aye.
And Clem. That's right. Clem left the meeting. I did note the time. Motion passes 7-0.